An MMO with a bad launch? Nothing to see here, folks. Move it along, move it along. Except, I think as you guys have probably heard, ArcheAge is an entirely new species of bad MMO launch. G'day, ZiggyD here, and today I'm going to be going over some of the various complaints that have been levied against ArcheAge. Now, just as a heads up, I am not a Founders Pack supporter. I did not buy one of the $100.50 Founders Pack, and I've sort of just been watching ArcheAge. I've been very keen to play at launch, but over the past couple days I've been looking at it and just been like, I'm just gonna wait this one out. I did jump on and play for a couple hours last night, but beyond that, it's like 6-hour queues, and I'm not interested in playing Lineup Simulator. But I do want to share with you guys what's actually happening with ArcheAge and what is the list of complaints against this game's launch. What is making this be one of the worst MMO launches in a while? And you know, is it validated? So the first and most obvious thing is obviously the massive login queues. If you are a person living in a US time zone or an EU time zone, and you work a normal job hours, or you go to school and then you play in the afternoon or the morning or the evening, you are not going to be able to play ArcheAge at the moment. There are 1 hour to 6 hour login queues, even plus. I've seen people with having to wait for 7 hours plus to be able to get on the server, and that's enough to mean that unless you like get in the queue in the morning, go to work, and then get home, and then hopefully be in the game without the game having crashed, then you're not really going to be getting on playing much ArcheAge. Now here's a very important point. When this sort of thing happens, people like to say, make more servers, give us more servers. However, that is a bad response, and I would encourage you guys to not complain and ask for more servers. I think this is something that, although it's been handled poorly, and I'll get into why, it's something that throwing more servers at it isn't going to fix, and it's going to cause more problems. When you throw servers at a problem like this, in a couple weeks time or in a couple months time when things settle down, you get a bunch of ghost servers. Now with ArcheAge, that's an extreme problem. Firstly, because there's currently no way to shift servers. There's no way to transition characters from server to server. That sort of thing could be added in the future. However, there are a few problems with the idea of merging servers or shifting characters around on servers in ArcheAge. And the primary problem associated with this is that ArcheAge is a sandboxy style game and includes land ownership. If you claim a piece of land and then someone on another server has claimed that same piece of land, how do you merge those servers together unless you just ask one person or you force one person to lose their land? So there's a lot of problems associated with the idea of having a lot of extra servers and then having to merge them in the future. So that is not a good idea. So how has this been mishandled? Why is this such a problem? Why is like the massive queues this many days after launch, especially when there was a 4-day head start, especially when there was a massive long alpha and multiple betas and even an open beta? Well, there are a few aggravating issues. The first is that there are some issues with AFK kicks. So one of the primary ones, which I think is being fixed currently or may already be fixed by now, but has obviously been a problem up to this point, was people on the character selection screen. So after you get into your server and you're selecting or creating your character, we're not being AFK kicked. So people were leaving their game logged in 100% of the time, because when there's a 6-hour queue, you don't exactly want to log out. So you just leave your computer on, you leave the game logged in on the character selection screen, and you don't get kicked. So obviously if it means like 50% or even 20% of the people are just AFK on the login screen, then that's going to be causing even more problems for the queues. The next is AFK mount leveling. It is currently possible to hold down 2 buttons, so forwards and left or forwards and right, and you can do it with a rock or something heavy on your desk and just press those 2 things down and sit on your mount and have it run around in circles. Now in ArcheAge, running around on your mount gives it experience and levels it up. Now there's two things with this. Firstly, getting mount XP is difficult. There's a big lag in your mount's level compared to your level. By the time you reach max level, your mount will be nowhere near max level, and you have to level multiple mounts because there are several good reasons to have multiple mounts in ArcheAge. Now, because of this XP issue, and because this is something that's been known about since alpha, this like AFK running around in circles on a mount business, as a way of leveling these mounts, this is something that is kind of encouraged to do because of how difficult it is to get this mount XP. Like, how else are you supposed to get your max level mounts? How else are you supposed to unlock your new abilities on each of your new mounts and things like that? Now, this also causes a problem for the login queues, because if you were holding down those buttons, you are not AFK. Now, there's a 45-minute, I believe, AFK kick timer on ArcheAge at the moment. So if you just stand there, or even if you use the auto run feature, so if you press number lock and auto run, you will get kicked after 45 minutes. So that sort of helps alleviate some of the queue issues. However, if you AFK mount level by pressing down 2 buttons and having them held down by something, then you run around in circles endlessly, and you will not get kicked from that. They're currently not kicking that. They're currently not enforcing that. They currently don't really have a way of detecting that, I'm assuming. So this is obviously causing problems. Like, it's encouraged to be done by the Mount XP. It's encouraged to be done to not get kicked off your server. And then there's even another encouragement just here: no offline labor regen for free-to-play accounts. So what's happening is, if you are logged in, you get labor, which is used for just about everything in the game. Everything commercial, crafting, farming, whatever, mining nodes. All this stuff uses labor, right? We've gone over this in previous videos. If you're on a free-to-play account, you get no labor when you're offline, and if you're on a Patron account, you get less labor when you're offline. So this is another feature encouraging people to make sure they stay online. So people jump on their mounts, they AFK mount running around in circles, they keep the servers as full as possible. It's like, what possible things can we do to keep the queues as full as possible? We want to keep these servers at 99% capacity always. I think if that was Trion's goal, or if that was XL Games' goal, then they're doing very well at that. They're doing very well at that. So in review, there's 3 major systems that are kind of aggravating this queue system and making this far worse than many other MMOs typically experience. Because all MMOs get queues at launch, all MMOs have waiting periods, sometimes even multiple hours. But the labor system, the Mount XP, and the ineffective AFK kick systems means that this is far, far worse than it could have been. So that's a bit unfortunate, especially because things like the labor system, it's obvious that this problems would have happened. People talked about this endlessly in beta, that this will be a problem. And then the AFK mount leveling has been known about in alpha. Trion has commented on it and said that they were not pursuing it in alpha, though they might in the future, but nothing obviously has happened there yet. So it's all a bit of a shame that this is such an issue when it really didn't need to be. So that's not all. There's a few other problems that have come up. A major one has been that a lot of patrons have not been getting their patron status. So people who spent $150 or $50 or $100, or who have just bought the Patron subscriptions, have not had their Patron account applied to their, applied to their account. So they are not patrons in games. Now this is significant because it means that they get less labor regen, so they're not getting the benefits of what they paid for, and they were unable to claim land if this happened during the initial land rush. Now, getting land in ArcheAge early and was one of the primary reasons for getting on the head start. It was one of the primary reasons for being a patron in the first place, or for being a founder, is getting that land, because getting that early land and securing that prime real estate is very important to a lot of people in ArcheAge. It's a big part of the game. So the inability to do that essentially mean that these guys paid for essentially nothing. Now, another pretty common complaint I'm seeing on Reddit on the forums and from other patrons that I've talked to is that because of the various login issues that I've talked in, and because of the queues, and this is even happening to people who have paid, who are patrons, who get priority in queues, they have not been able to get kind of what they paid for again by not being able to actually play the game. Now, that's always the thing, like, you're paying a subscription, but the servers were down for a couple hours, I'm getting robbed of my subscription, that sounds like so entitled, right? But when a big draw for the Founders Packs was a 4-day head start in which you would be able to get on, claim land, and get a big advantage over people who didn't get the head start, and that was a big draw of it, whether that's a good thing or not, that's not really the point. These people paid money for that exactly. And then when they were unable to actually get on the game to take advantage of that 4-day head start, a lot of people I talked to were able to play like half a day of the 4 days, or one day total of the 4 days. Then these people didn't get a major feature of what they paid for. So this has been another big source of complaint. So another pretty big issue that I've been reading about has been a Gilda Star duping or exploit, or a bug that has been exploited. Essentially, some patrons who received Gilda Stars early on were getting more than they should have, or they were able to dupe it or exploit it some other way. I'm not sure of the details of this, but the effect of it was that some people were able to claim a lot more land than they should have been able to, and preventing other people from claiming, land. So when this comes to like the prime real estate and the low-level zones around the coastal regions, this bug has caused a lot of problems. Now, kind of a lot of threads have been deleted from the forums about this particular thing, and there's been no official response on this duping or on this exploit, so that's obviously pretty concerning. Now, a final point I want to make is I think it's very important for you guys, if you paid money for these things and haven't been able to realize what you paid money for, or you've, essentially received a defective product when it comes to gaming, to avidly fight for your consumer rights, to actually kind of let your voice be heard, to, if you are truly unsatisfied, talk to the developer about potentially getting a refund if you're unable to actually use your product. So this can be kind of hard though. I've certainly been in this situation myself where you invest a lot of time, emotion, and money into a game only to have it not work out, but then it becomes quite difficult to actually separate yourself from all of that investment. You become very invested in the game overall, and this can lead to you defending either the game or the developers when, if you're a third party, you know that you wouldn't be defending in that situation, or just kind of trying to overlook and deny things that are annoying you. Now, I think if you're enjoying the game, you don't have any problems, and you're fine with waiting, then it's not a problem. But if you are perturbed about this, if you are upset about these things, do let your voice be heard. Do contact support, do contact the developers, and potentially, ask for a refund if it's available. I know some people have been able to get their, their packs refunded because they weren't satisfied with the product, and that's fine. Now, I do think overall that ArcheAge is a pretty damn good game. I had a good bit of fun on the last couple hours on, and when I was in the alpha, I had a lot of fun with the game. Now, I've obviously expressed some complaints. I'd like to just temper this with the game is pretty damn cool. The game is pretty damn fantastic, and it's offering something in the MMO sphere that's not currently really available. Maybe some other games coming up in the future will offer some similar things, but at the moment, ArcheAge is, offering a pretty unique and interesting experience. So if you can, I suggest kind of just being a little bit patient, especially if you haven't invested all that money into it. Being a little bit patient, wait it out. That's my strategy. I'm going to play some Wasteland. I played some Path of Exile. I'm going to wait it out. I'm going to jump on, when it's quiet times in the US and I'm able to actually get on my server. I'll jump on and have a bit of fun with it. But overall, it's been a bit of a shaky launch. But I think hopefully it doesn't damage the game too much. I'd like to see ArcheAge do well. I think that's the important thing. But that's not going to happen unless we talk about these things, unless we actually, complain about things that are valid to be complained about. Anyway, if you have any thoughts on this, I encourage you guys to share them down in the comments below. I'm obviously pretty active down there if you've seen from previous videos, and I enjoy discussing these things with you. I encourage you guys to try and levy your discussions towards me in a pretty civil manner if possible. I know things can get pretty heated whenever some sort of complaints are made about a game that people are very passionate about. I understand that, but if you talk to me in a civil manner, even if you disagree, I'll talk to you back in a civil manner and we'll have a good time. Well, I have a good time down in the comments section, so I'd like that to continue if possible. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm ZiggyD, and thanks for watching.